Good day, Congress Heights and guests. I am here with you today to celebrate the Mayor's elevation of the D.C. Office on Aging to the D.C. Department on Aging and Community Living. I cannot tell you how thrilled, how excited I am at this change of events for D.C. seniors. I have long advocated for a D.C. Department on Aging to replace the D.C. Office on Aging because the D.C. Office on Aging is an office administratively located in the executive office of the mayor, and offices provide support services to the chief executive and or to an organization. An office, i.e. support structure, in the executive office. Can't hear me? Okay. Do I start again? I have long advocated for a D.C. Department on Aging to replace the Office on Aging because the D.C. Office on Aging is an office administratively located in the executive office of the mayor, and offices provide support services to the chief executive and or to an organization. An office, i.e. support structure, in the executive office of the mayor is not the appropriate organizational structure for developing, coordinating, delivering, and managing the programs and services which promote the longevity, independence, dignity, choice, and quality of life in general for older District of Columbia residents. An office on aging administratively located in the executive office of the mayor, rather than a department on aging, is not what we need. DC has 117,223 persons 60 and over residing here, but we had only an office to service our needs. Though fewer in number, DC residents with mental retardation and other developmental disabilities have a department on disabilities. Though fewer in number, DC residents with mental illness have a department on behavioral health. A DC Department on Aging will become the preeminent agency for addressing the challenges of the district's aged and aging population. A DC Department on Aging will be a more prominent, more visible, more conspicuous organization that is dedicated to and responsible for meeting the service needs of the district's elderly residents. A DC Department on Aging will give greater recognition to and assign greater importance to the district's aged and aging population, and thereby fulfill the DC Office on Aging vision to become the premier agency in Washington, D.C., addressing the needs of D.C.'s older adults. I have long advocated for the restructuring of the D.C. Office on Aging as a Department on Aging to enhance the agency's capacity to advocate, plan, implement, coordinate, deliver, monitor, and evaluate programs and services designed and structured to promote longevity, independence, dignity, and choice, foster the empowerment, and improve the quality of life for elderly District of Columbia residents. Today, that day is here. Today, we will have a Department on Aging. Mayor Bowser's elevation of the D.C. Office on Aging to the D.C. Department on Aging and Community Living demonstrates her value of the district's senior citizens and signals her wholehearted commitment to an age-friendly D.C. where all D.C. residents are active, connected, healthy, engaged, and happy in their environment. So I thank you so much, Mayor Bowser, for this tremendous act. I thank you equally, Councilmember Anita Bonds, who introduced the legislation for a D.C. Department on Aging and Community Living. In the words of Vice President Hubert Humphrey, it was once said that the moral test of government is how that government treats those who are in the dawn of life, the children, those who are in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those who are in the shadows of life, the sick, the needy, and the handicapped. It can certainly be said that under your leadership and direction, Mayor Bowser and Councilmember Bonds, the District of Columbia government has passed the moral test of government for its treatment of its elderly residents. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Bowser, council members, distinguished guests. On behalf of the Commission on Aging, I would like to thank the Mayor Bowser, and the City Council with a special thanks to Councilmember Anita Barnes on the Committee for Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization for the creation of the Department of Aging and Community Living. I would also like to recognize our former chairpersons for the Commission on Aging, Ms. Romaine Thomas and Ms. Carol Nichols, for their outstanding effort and leadership to the Commission. Okay. We thank the Mayor for her commitment to the seniors of the District of Columbia, and we thank you for your effort to make D.C. the best place in the world for a senior to live. As members of the Commission on Aging, we look forward to working with you, and we will look forward to working with the City Council, and we look forward to working with our great Director, Ms. Laura Newland, in making these goals come true. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Chairman Bobo, for all the work that you do with the Commission on Aging and representing Ward 8 so well. I want to add my thanks for the commissioners who are here today and made it a priority to be here for this moment. We have Councilmember White here from Ward 8. We have Councilmember Bonds. Councilmember Bonds is every senior's council member. So, and former Councilmember Sandy is here, and thank you for that. And I want to thank all the seniors in the room as well. So give yourself a round of applause. I noticed today seeing everybody in this room just reminded me of how important the work is that we do every day. And I want to take a moment to thank the original director, the OG, Ms. Veronica Pace. Yes. So in that spirit, I want to recognize my team, some of whom were here from DCOA's early days, not the earliest days like Ms. Pace, but they have been so instrumental in who we have become as an agency, as a department. Whether my team members have been here for more than 30 years, like Ms. Mamie Garrett here, or for 25 years, like Darlene Nowlin or Antoinette Dozier, or for 5 months, like Mr. David Jackson back there. Everyone on the team is making sure that DCOA's legacy of service to the community remains strong every day for you. But we wouldn't be here today if not for our mayor. So, some of you have heard me say this, so just please indulge me, but in my first meeting with the mayor, one of the first things she said to me was, Laura, I've knocked on so many doors on my path to get here. I've met so many isolated seniors. What are we going to do about that? And from that moment, I knew I wanted to work for this mayor, someone who understands so clearly that the work that we do at the DC Office on Aging should be driven by that very question. What are we going to do together about senior isolation? What are we going to do together to make sure that as we all age, that we can live our best lives in community together? So from those days knocking on doors to today signing this important legislation, making us a department, thank you, Mayor, for your dedication to the seniors, to people with disabilities, and to our city's caregivers. So right now, we're celebrating, but when we leave here, just know that the mayor's next question is, Laura, what's next?
Well, good morning, good afternoon, Congress Heights. It's wonderful to be here with all of you to celebrate, and I couldn't say it better than what we heard Ms. Nichols say and Commissioner Mr. Chairman Bobo say and Laura say, Director Newland say, that we are here to make sure that Washingtonians who are aging wonderfully in our city have the full support of D.C. government. Are you with me? And we have indeed had a wonderful legacy started by the one and only Marion Barry himself in making sure that we had the D.C. Office on Aging. And I was reminded on my way here that prior to his death, Mr. Barry also was a part of the thinking around elevating the office to the Department of Aging and Senior Living in Washington, D.C. And it is a very good thing that members of the council share our great vision for how we continue to grow as a city, but grow for everyone. And I call her the at-large council member for housing because every day I think she wakes up and goes to bed thinking about housing. But she has also really been a stalwart advocate for seniors in our city and making sure that senior voices are heard on the Council of the District of Columbia. Your at-large council member, Anita Bonds. Please stand up, Anita. So I want to thank Anita for her advocacy for reintroducing this bill, as I understand. And I want to thank your council member who fights very hard for Ward 8 every single day, Councilmember Trayon White. Thank you, Trayon, for your support here, too. So I think I'll take just a moment to remind us of our history. In 1975, through legislation co-sponsored by then Council Member Marion Barry, the D.C. Office on Aging was created. DCOA at that time had a staff of 26 people and an annual budget of less than $1 million. That's about $4.2 million in today's figures. Today, the Office on Aging has a strong and dedicated workforce of over 80 employees, a budget of over $38 million, and oversees a network of 25 community organizations operating 40 programs for seniors in all 8 wards. That's a wonderful legacy. And over the years, we've seen the agency grow to serve more seniors, make more homes and communities safer, and provide more health and wellness programs and greater social connections. Our senior population is over 117,000 strong. That means if you're over 65, you make up 16% of the population of Washington, D.C. In the past decade, the number of Washingtonians over the age of 60 has grown by nearly 15,000 people, and that number will continue to grow. And since my time serving as a council member, I have remained focused on ensuring that we continue to make senior residents a priority because we know it's the seniors who got us where we are today, who have worked in the government, in schools, in religious organizations, in our churches, in the neighborhoods. And as my father likes to remind me, in the orange hats and the ANCs, all the reasons that we're able to be one of the best cities in the world is because of you. And we want to honor you in our budgets and our programs and services and in how we think about growing our city. That's why the Age-Friendly Task Force was so important, because it pulled together every agency of our government. So it's fine for us to say all of the things that we've been able to do in the Office of Aging, but the truth is every office should be the Office of Aging too. So that means when we're thinking about DDOT and transportation programs, we're thinking about how seniors can navigate our transportation network. Even when we're thinking about our DC public schools, we're thinking about how grandparents who are raising their children, their grandchildren, can navigate our schools or could use their vast knowledge to volunteer in our schools. When we're thinking about housing, we're thinking about how people can age in place in their own homes, can better afford rising rents, and can take care of utility payments. So yes, we are elevating an office to the Department of Aging, and we're calling on all of our agencies to always think about how to make sure seniors can age in place right here in the district. In the last 4 years, in my first term, we really focused on a program focused on aging in place, and that was the Safe at Home program, where we can make small grants so that you can make your home safe for you, so you can stay right there. Because we know the best senior housing is what? The senior housing you're in, right? But we want to make sure it's safe for you and that you have the things that you need so you can stay in that home as long as you want. We have also created property tax relief for our seniors. We created the Transport DC program so you could have on-demand and less expensive transportation around the city. Laura is also very focused on how we can support caregivers. Many of you are caregivers. The way my mother likes to describe it, who she has given care to my father for many years, and she tells him, I'm just as old as you are. Right? So some of you are caregivers, or some of your children are helping out, or you may have an aide that comes into your home. And we want to make sure that you also have supportive, safe, reliable care that you can count on for your loved ones, but that also you may be thinking about for yourself in your later years too. So those are all significantly important things that we've been focused on. And sometimes I don't remember the impact, and you may have this experience too. You say something, and you may just be sharing something that's been one of your experiences, but you never know the impact that it has on someone else. And that's the conversation that I apparently had with my director, Laura Newland. And it is where I'd like to end too, because all of you are here. So that tells me one thing, that you know how to access services and make connections. But for every person in this room, there are probably 2 or 3 people who don't know how to access services, who haven't been out of the house, who we don't know if they're getting the support that they need. I learned this lesson early on, and this was the story I shared with Laura. And I was trying to become the ward for a council member. I knocked on a gentleman's door, and he didn't look like he had on clean clothes, and he started to cry. And I asked the gentleman what was wrong, and he told me that he was blind, and his wife had just died, and she had taken care of him, and he didn't know what to do. And more than that, he had a child who was hurting him more than helping him. And so at that moment, I knew that all of the things that we do to help people, we have to go out and do more to find the people who need our help. Because the vice president was right. And I'll add one more thing. In a city as prosperous as ours, we should never find one of our senior residents in that condition that I found that young man in 2007. So let that be our charge. Let us focus on the things that we have done well and build on them with our lead agencies that are working in each ward, our senior wellness centers, and our nutrition programs and activities. But let us also think about what's next for seniors in Washington, D.C. So with that, I want to turn to my friend, Anita Bonds, and hear from her, thank her, appreciate her for helping us get to this point where we will sign into law the Department for Aging and Community Living.
I cannot tell you how wonderful it feels to be here today with you on this occasion. We have reached a milestone in our community. And I also want us to give the mayor another real round of applause. Real round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. You know, at the council, we can pass those little pieces of paper until we're blue in the face. But it has to be signed before it's law. And she made this law possible. And I thank her so very, very much. I'm 70 plus. I won't talk about how many, okay? So this is important to me, too. It's important to my mom. You know, she's 95, so she's still around and moving on her own, living alone in Ward 7. So it's for people like us to say to the rest of the city, we're here and we're going to be at every table of influence. So therefore, Laura, our challenge to you is to expect that you will be at every table of influence, because that's what being a department head really means. We want to make sure that whatever the issue is as it relates to quality living in our community, that we have our representative there. And there'll be others, I'm sure, because she'll create little advisory groups and make sure that now we can say to the mayor, every advisory team or commission must certainly have a person, an aging person there to represent our issues. Those are some of the things that may come later or come next. But today we're here to say thank you so very much to the mayor and to you who have lobbied me for this. And I must bring up my old boss, Marion Barry. He absolutely adored the seniors with all his heart. And when Ms. Nicholas said, well, here's the bill, you know, let's see what we can do, and we played with it a little bit, and it made sense to try and move it as quickly as possible. And in the spirit of Ms. Pace, we moved it forward, because that is the kind of energy that she left for many of us. And I mean, I really have to say that, because today is a day that belongs to where we're coming from and then where we're going. And so I want to thank you all. We're there now. We're there now. So thank you. And thank you, Mayor. Thank you. So much.
Congratulations. And Councilmember Trayon White. And then we'll sign the bill.
Good afternoon. Earlier today, I had the privilege of going to visit some seniors down in Frederick Douglass community off down in the Anacostia area. And I was talking about Councilmember Anita Barnes and her advocacy, not just for housing in the ward, but in D.C., but for our seniors. And they were so elated, and I talked about the Mayor Bowser press conference today and signage of making the office a real office in the District of Columbia government. And the mayor and I were joking with Councilmember Anita Barnes this morning. She said, both of you are babies. You know, at 34, a baby, I was like, okay, you know, you got to take what you can get, you know. But I always say that bad things happen when good people do nothing. And I know that seniors in our community have fought for us for so long and have laid the pathway for me, and most of us have the opportunity we have today. So we are elated and unapologetic about serving you all and open up this office today. Give these two a round of applause for their leadership. And since both of them mentioned the Mayor for Life, Marion Barry, he always said it's imperative as leaders that we take care of our seniors and our babies. And for decades, our seniors in this community and in Washington, D.C. have taken care of generations of people's children from all over the district. So we are honored to open up this office, but put the resources behind and ensuring that you have what you need, because far too many times, as a leader, I hear that, seniors have issue with traveling, have issue with affordable housing, the price of living keep going up and up, have issue of deciding do they get their medicine or do they pay their bills. And we, as leaders in the District of Columbia with a $14.5 billion, not unlimited, but we have resources to ensure that we can support you in whatever way we can. And so today is a symbolism in action that we can do just that. And so I'm excited to join the mayor, a former council member, Ms. Sandy Allen, and I seen Mr. Bowe looking real sharp today. Yeah. And so I'm excited. And for so many, as a young man, for so many who've paved the way for me to have the opportunity to serve in my city, and we're excited to sign this thing today. So I won't belabor anymore, but I want to say don't just stand there, do something. Thank you. Thank you.
So if I can ask the council members, the members of the commission, former members of the commission, Director Pace, Director, we're going to sign the bill. And then the last time I had a big meeting with seniors and I didn't take any questions, I got in trouble. So immediately after the bill signing, I'm going to take your questions.
Good, sir.
Young man, Dread, you said talk to you.
That's better. That's cool. That's cool. Ma'am. I can't see.
Okay. All right.
Should I send you to Karen? Should I send you to Karen?
Press it down.
I got a flashlight.
I can't.